I aim to please in life, but today's movie makes that goal rather insurmountable. For on Facebook, I put out a poll asking you guys one very simple question. Is The Amazing Spider-Man 2 a good movie? Yes or no? And as you can see, opinions were about as split as a pair of tights and an overweight contortionist. So, no matter what I say, statistically I'm gonna be pissing off about half of you. But I am a critic, so I must answer this question with utmost honesty. Do I like The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Yes or no? Is there a third option?
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
But I'm straight down the middle here. I can't say yes.
Get on with it!
Okay, now, trust me, I've thought long and hard about this.
Giggity, giggity.
And I will say that I do like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but, and this is one enormous Kim Kardashian size level but here, Amazing Spider-Man 2, to put it in a very scientific unit of measurement, has problems by the fuckload. Because this is one of those films that, on first viewing, I was like, yeah, I like that. I had a good time. Good job, Mark Webb. Have a cookie. But upon deeper analysis, well, let's just start at the beginning. This is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So our movie begins, the same as the first. Peter is left at his aunt and uncle's, then his parents die, only this time we see how shit Richard was at keeping promises.
We're gonna be fine, Mary.
He's just a little boy.
I know. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be alright.
Mary!
Fail.
Okay, so when the movie really begins, we rejoin Spidey in modern day New York. Now, director Mark Webb has given us many a cool shot of Spidey swinging across the city, hasn't he? We've had POV shots, slow-mo shots, shots that follow Spidey from behind, and Mark Webb just keeps on delivering, people. For now we have... the crotch cam!
Dear God, it's beautiful.
Although the shot is looking up a bit, so that must mean that Spidey has... Oh, no, we're not going there.
Oh!
Right. So it turns out there's a new villain on the loose as Mr. Alexis Sasevich here causes havoc on the streets. So Spidey gives chase and proceeds to do what he does best. Get people killed.
Heads up, watch out! Okay, there you go. You okay?
I like how Spidey's all impressed with himself that he saved Max here when a taxi full of people just flew right over his head and crash landed upside down. Don't worry, Max, I got you. That'll be okay. Crap. So yeah, Spidey today seems more content on cracking jokes than saving lives, and 2 dead cabbies, 2 dead drivers, and 2 dudes crushed to death later. Jesus Christ, Peter!
He's a madman! A madman!
Well, as I ponder how many life sentences Spidey should be serving now, we find out Peter's not wrought with guilt because of a few dead civilians. No, he's wrought with guilt because he's bagging someone when he said he wouldn't. Now, how are they going to go about showing this?
No, that...
Peter. What is happening? Peter. Peter.
Horrendously, that's how. I mean, geez, how can I not make fun of this? Who could possibly take Ghost Leary seriously? You're trying to convey Peter's conflict of mind and the guilt he feels for breaking a promise he made to a dying man. And you go about it like this?
Ooh, Peter, I am the ghost of Dennis Leary. How could you break your promise and still see Gwen? Think about my rotten corpse next time you tap that. Ooh. Boogie, boogie, boogie.
So yeah, Spidey tries his best to ignore the fact that he is obviously going insane as he manages to catch and subdue Rhino. He's got rhinos on his boxes. I feel a bit depressed saying that though, as I had to verify this by zooming in on Paul Giamatti's ass. What did you do at work today? Well, Peter gets to his graduation just in time and meets back up with Gwen. But gosh darn it, Dennis Leary just seems content on being the world's first deceased cockblocker.
I promised him that I would keep away from you. And now I'm gonna come and eat dinner with your family. How can I do this? What does this make me?
Wait, so does this mean that whole "those are the best kind" line from the last movie was absolutely pointless and these two were going to have yet another on-off relationship like Peter and MJ did in the Raimi trilogy? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, we're not doing that again. So as Peter gets on with his usual routine of stalking his ex, fighting goons, fighting chickens, fighting the blobs, catching fish, you know, I do like this movie, but I honestly would rather be watching what Peter was up to on these days. But I digress, for we are then formally introduced to Max Dillon. It's his birthday today, and he's celebrating in his own, special way.
Whoa, well, look who's here. Spidey. How was your morning? Aces, Max. Aces.
Wait a minute. So, you're making Max Dillon in this movie a socially awkward weirdo? And to play him, you choose this guy?
Can I save you from you?
But you know, in the words of Ron Burgundy, I'm not even mad, that's amazing. Because Jamie Foxx has completely transformed here. I think he's great in this film because Fox is playing a character that is pretty much the complete opposite of what he is. Max is a geeky, giddy fanboy who talks to himself, has little to no friends, loves Spider-Man, has bad teeth, terrible hair, and Jamie Foxx is playing me in this movie, shit.
People don't get a chance to see these small, kind things that you do for people. I know what they say about you in the press, but it doesn't matter to me because I know the real you, because you're amazing. Wow. That's what the press needs. They should call you the Amazing Spider-Man.
He said it.
You like that, Spidey? I like it a lot, Max. Good.
Okay, why does his voice for Spider-Man sound so pervy?
I like it a lot.
Do you like that, Spidey?
I like it a lot, Max. Now turn around, bend over, and I'll let you know why they call me Webhead.
I need an adult! So it turns out Max works for Oscorp, but his relationship with his fellow workers is, well, non-existent.
And those tower grids were designed by me.
You designed them? Sure you did. And I'm Spider-Man.
You're no Spider-Man! He's a Leo! You're a Sagittarius! You will Spectrum again! I'm gonna rip your well-groomed head off!
Now get to work.
Quick, out of the blue question. Does anyone know a good remedy for a sore anus? For I literally just shot a brick. So Max proceeds to have a crap day at work and quickly learns that Oscorp has about the same safety measures as the Springfield nuclear power plant. Did I just watch the electrical charge of a dozen or so eels fix the gap between a man's teeth? Like, you can't let a finding like this go unnoticed. I mean to tell me that from now on in this world, if you need work done on your teeth, you no longer have to go to the dentist, you just have to be dropped in a tank full of eels? Honestly, I think both sound as horrible as each other. Regardless, Max, only you are armed with this knowledge, so make full use of it. You turn into a homicidal maniac by the end of the movie anyway, so becoming a dentist seems right up your alley.
Max, you'll be a dentist. You have a talent for calling things pain.
So after Max's after-work cookout, we're introduced to character 657. Yep, Harry's in this movie. As is Norman, but not for long, he'll soon be able to meet his maker. Anyway, Harry's pissed at Daddy because he won't give him the time of day growing up. But the points he makes are a bit weird.
You're throwing it all away.
You threw me away. You kicked me off to boarding school when I was 11.
So do all parents of Hogwarts students, but we don't give them any flack for it.
On my 16th birthday, you sent me scotch.
Okay, what kind of 16-year-old gets annoyed over receiving alcohol? What a nerd! Uh-oh, I think he pissed off Homer. Okay, so Norman snuffs it, but not without letting Harry know his disease is genetic. But Harry takes it in his stride as he becomes the new CEO of Oscorp.
Harry, Oscorp's been under intense public scrutiny in the wake of Dr. Connor's recent breach of trust.
You mean people are pissed off because he tried to turn everyone in New York City?
People are pissed off because he tried to turn everyone in New York City into giant lizards.
Oh, well, fantastic. Movie's pointing out how dumb it is itself. Why did it take me 4 months to get this review out?
All the animal hybrid programs he was involved in were destroyed to restore investor confidence.
That is the Osborne way. Whatever's inconvenient around here, just get rid of it, right?
No, that's the YouTube copyright system way. So as Harry lets everyone know who's boss, Peter turns up at Oscorp to offer his condolences. As it turns out, Peter and Harry were childhood friends.
There he is. You still blow and dry your hair every morning?
You know, one of my manservants holds the hairdryer, but I work the comb. Okay, so...
No. He was asking about your hair regimen, not Donald Trump's. So Peter and Harry hit it off and decide to head down to the Hudson to pad the film's runtime. I mean, skip some rocks.
Nice arm. It's just the wrist. It's just all in the wrist, buddy.
And by all in the wrist, he's referring to the action of handing cash over to the VFX artist to make him a CG rock. So we cut to later in the day, as Peter decides to meet up with Gwen, but Peter makes a silly mistake.
And I got completely addicted to this place that has Korean meatballs.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
Oh, I don't know.
It's mind-blowing.
Oh, that place on 6, I know. You love it there.
How do you know that? Have you been following me? I knew it.
Oh, god damn you, Andrew Garfield, you sexy bastard. I mean, Peter here outright admits to stalking Gwen on a daily basis, and she finds it endearing. Oh, and this music doesn't help. Tell you what, let's change it up a bit here to, better fit the mood.
Have you been following me? How often?
Just once a day. Sometimes.
Sometimes more.
Hi, I'd like to make an order for one Gwen Stacy. A can of pepper spray, a rape whistle, and a good pair of running shoes. Run! But the old Spidey sense kicks into gear as it turns out Max escaped from the morgue and has become drawn to the power emanating from Times Square. Ugh, I hate it when Peter just spontaneously decides to go streaking. So Max begins to drain the power from the square, and after a quick altercation with the cops, Spidey arrives to save the day.
I don't want them shooting me.
I'm not gonna shoot you. You guys, this is my buddy Max. I told you about Max. No one shoots at Max. You and me, okay? It's just you and me talking. Whoa, stay right there, stay right there. Just be careful, the grate, because the electricity just...
You know, I do wonder though, what does all this electricity emanating from your body do to you anyway? Like, on a daily basis, I mean. Can't be easy to live with. Ugh, it's awful, Peter. I've got electrical interference coming from every crevice on my body. as so much as fart and 2 entire city blocks lose power. The silent one shut down 3. Just the other day, I went to Taco Bell and I let out a right kicker on the subway. The train shut down, of course, but the real issue was the guy sitting next to me had a pacemaker on. I'm never eating a cheating beast quesadilla again. So yeah, Spidey finds he hasn't enough charisma points to persuade Max to come quietly, so he proceeds to attack. And as much as I like this scene, I have to ask, what the hell is up with this soundtrack? He hates me? Who's this song about? Electro or fucking Super Mario? He hates me. Jeez, comedy musicians can write something more fitting than this. My name is Max Dillon. I got bit in the face by a CGI eel. Now I'm all electric, but Webhead over here is still in my spotlight. I'll take my hands and throw them on the ground. You must think I'm a joke. I ain't gonna be part of your system, man. I'm the greatest villain since Mr. Freeze. So Spidey and Electro get in a fight, and hey, I find this kind of funny, Sony destroying their own product placement. Sorry, I got nothing, that's just so fucking funny to me. Fuck yeah! But Spidey gets up soon after, as he comes up with a plan to shut Electro down.
Alright, that's enough. Mike? Yeah. Big John?
Okay, as much as I laughed when I saw Spidey wearing a fireman hat in theaters, this weakness to water makes no sense. Because if Pokemon has taught me anything, electricity should be strong against water, not weak against it. Oh, and then there's the teeny tiny little point of how Electro was fucking born in the stuff. How can water be your weakness if that's part of what made you? It'd be like if Sandman's weakness was sand, or if Catwoman's weakness was cats, or if Polly Shaw's weakness was Satan. It makes no sense. So yeah, Electro is captured as we cut to Oscorp? As it turns out, they managed to get their hands on Electro. Kinda skipped on that scene, guys. Shouldn't the police have custody? Oh, wait, because there isn't a single police officer with a name now, all of a sudden all cops are completely incompetent. Makes sense. Anywho, we are then formally introduced to Dr. Kafka, who is rocking a bit more testosterone than she did in the comics, huh?
I'm here to study you, to understand what you are, why you are, and I will get results.
So we have here an evil German doctor whose surname begins with a K. Dr. Kaufman from Tomorrow Never Dies much?
You do realize you locked me in a prison that runs on electricity.
Oh, I am a professional Electro. I could zap you from Stuttgart and still create the proper effect. Wait, why do shocking hurt you? You're made of electricity already. You know, shocking you is giving me the weirdest boner right now. So yeah, whilst Eggman's German cousin has his fun, we rejoin Peter and Harry at Oscorp. As it turns out, Harry has connected the dots and worked out Peter at least knows who Spider-Man is. So he asks him to ask Spider-Man for his blood, which Harry believes can save his life. So Peter suits up and meets Harry at his home, only to essentially tell him to fuck off.
I can't give you my blood. Not right now.
Excuse me?
It's too dangerous. If our blood isn't compatible, you could die.
I'm already dying. Your blood can't make me die more.
But it could do something worse.
Okay, this scene really angers me. I mean, it gives Harry an ample reason for hating Spider-Man, but at what cost? Why doesn't Peter just give Harry his blood? Harry has a multi-billion-dollar corporation at his disposal. He won't be dumb enough just to inject Spider-Man's blood as soon as he got it. I mean, I know he does just that with the Spider-Venom near the end of the movie, but that's because he's in a desperate situation then. But now, he'd run tests, he'd conduct animal trials, he'd get his top scientists on the job to try to work out how to reverse engineer the benefits of Spidey's self-healing. He has plenty of time, judging by how old Norman Osborn was when he died. Harry should have decades left before he snuffs it.
Alright, how much?
How much what?
How much do you want?
Name it. You want a boat? You want a plane? You want money? How much do you want? I don't want your money.
You don't want his money? How selfish are you being now? Literally the scene before this, we learn Aunt May how to take a job at the hospital to pay for Peter's college fees.
Your stupid, non-scientific aunt who doesn't know how to make ends meet, who has to take nursing classes with 22-year-old kids so I can pay for you to go to college, and I don't know how to do this without Ben.
Don't you feel you should sell your blood for a couple of $100,000 to help support your aunt in her later years? Oh, and here's the real problem with Peter not giving up his blood. In the scene at Oscorp, Peter and Harry watch a clip of Norman Osborn who claimed Oscorp's research had the potential to cure diseases like Parkinson's and even cancer. I dare say that no matter how many lives Spidey saved on the streets of New York, that number wouldn't even remotely compare to how many lives that could be saved if a cure for freaking cancer was found. Spider-Man, because of your decision to not give Harry your blood, 1,500 Americans will die. Every day. One of these images is that of a homicidal maniac. The other is Hannibal Lecter.
You're a monster!
So Harry's understandably pissed, but Felicia here tells him that Oscorp saves some of the Spider-Venom at Ravencroft, the facility Electro's being held at. So yeah, a character that barely has any, well, character, has just told Harry Osborn a pivotal piece of information to help move along the plot. But before Harry can find much out, it turns out that Oscorp VIPs have framed Harry for the cover-up of Max's accident.
Now, in light of your deceptive criminal actions, you've been, how do I put this gently, fired.
Did this guy just fire his own boss? Pretty sure you can't do that, mate. Oh, I'm fired? Well, news for you, dickhead. And the C to the E to the motherfucking O. So you know what? You're fired. Boys, take him away. So in plot number 7030, we see that Peter has been doing some digging and has found the location of a secret lair his father had built in an abandoned railway station. But
My name is Richard Parker. Whatever lies will be told about me, I would like the world to know the truth. Oscorp was already a leader in genetic research. When Norman Osborn made a deal with a foreign military organization to continue funding my research, and I discovered what they were going to use it for.
Okay, let me get this straight. So Richard Parker's plan to clear his name and expose Oscorp of its wrongdoings was to send this video testimony not to any kind of authority or to the internet, but to a secret train station only he and his wife knew about. Too stupid. Too incomprehensible. So whilst all this shit's going on, Harry decides to take matters into his own hands and breaks into Ravencroft to free Electro.
You just want to take back what's yours. Oh. It is all the power in the city, Max, and it's right at your fingertips. And then once you shut down the grid, Spider-Man will come to you, and I want you to make it bleed.
Talk about giving it your all in a performance. I want you to make it bleed.
Bleed.
Bleed. Bleed. Bleed. Bleed.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
So Electro agrees to help as he, goes all Dr. Manhattan on her asses. Oh, shit, as soon as I was doing this impression, does that mean we have to see his blue flaccid saggy? Oh, thank God he's inexplicably wearing shorts. I mean, geez, given the visual cues, it looked like it was going to turn into a Spider-Man porno there. Alright, Max, don't be stingy. Be sure to give him a reach around this time. Oh, and can we make sure MJ and Black Cat are ready for their scene? Right, awesome. You did get an African American girl to play Black Cat, right? I mean, we can't get a white girl to play her, otherwise we can't call her Black.
Silence!
Sorry. Rest in peace, Mr. Rickman, but the show goes on. You have to keep me in check. So after Harry and Max become friends...
Please, Max! I need you!
I'm definitely gonna say more than friends. They head back to Oscorp to get some answers, but Mencken here responds in the most bizarre of ways.
I want in to special.
How dare you come back in here? You recalcitrant, unworthy.
What, man, are you insane?
Freaks.
Well, what did you think was gonna happen? An invisible being of pure electricity instantly kills your security guard, and you decide to talk back to him? That'd be like meeting God at the pearly white gates and telling him to go fuck himself. Look, here's a rating chart for bad ideas. Now, talking back to Electro ranks about a 9. For reference, going for a bikini wax and then bathing in a tub full of iodine, that's about an 8. I want a 10 is the equivalent of trademarking reaction videos, just an all-around terrible idea.
Yeah, I know.
So Max and Harry go their separate ways. Electro begins draining the power plant of electricity, and Harry heads down to special projects to get his supposed cure.
Load one up.
Harry, why are you getting the injection in the same arm you're holding the gun? Wouldn't that give Mencken ample opportunity to take the gun from you? I mean, why not get injected in the other arm? Or your abdomen? Or the thigh? Hell, your butt cheek is a better idea.
Load one up, bitch.
But Harry's not compatible with the venom as it transforms him into the Green Goblin, of which we'll see a little later. But we cut back to Gwen, and she gives Peter a little upgrade to help out in the upcoming fight against Electro.
Okay, good. Try. Hurry.
And that is why you were number 2 at Midtown.
Rub it in, okay.
Gwen, you do realize that this cop here is within easy listening distance, right? I mean, if he was listening to your conversation, he'll now know that Spider-Man is both a friend of Gwen Stacy and went to the same school as you. I think with a bit of digging, he could easily narrow down Spidey's true identity now. I mean, geez, Gwen, you might as well just shout out his name for everyone to hear whilst you're at it.
Peter! Stupid! You're so stupid!
So, Peter follows Electro as they duke it out of the power plant. And yeah, this is a pretty sweet scene to watch, especially in theaters.
That is awesome!
You ready to give up?
Whoa, I see Electro's been to the Tobey Maguire school of screaming at things. Maybe Maguire should have been Electro in this movie. As scary as that thought might seem. So as the fight continues, Electro, all of a sudden, decides to practice for his upcoming America's Got Talent audition. I'm the only one who sees Electro using this song as kind of stupid, seeing as how the lyrics go, down came the rain and washed the spider out, when Electro was actually washed out earlier in the film. I mean, this is like if The Flash's favourite song was slowed down, or if Oliver Queen's favourite movie was Broken Arrow, or if Batman's favourite film was Meet the Parents. It's a touch ironic. So Spidey manages to defeat Electro with a little help from Gwen, but there's a new challenger! You know, despite how we are at the 2-hour mark now, and are now only seeing the Green Goblin, I am still excited to see how they've improved on the design. You know, after the horrendous suit they chose for the Raimi film. Surely it's gotta be better, right? Right?
Peter.
Look at me! I mean, sweet Jesus, I think this is worse. He looks like if Beavis and Butthead contracted syphilis. Or like what the perverted hellspawn of an orc and a troll doll would look like. I mean, this is not the Green Goblin. Because, believe it or not, the Green Goblin should look like a goblin. This looks like if Groot's turds had teeth. Gah. So yeah, this very tall leprechaun, formerly known as Harry, seizes an opportunity and takes Gwen away. For reasons, as the two get into a fight, but in the commotion Goblin gets knocked out and Gwen falls to her death in glorious slow motion. And get this, as Spidey's web travels down to try to catch Gwen, it actually slowly transforms into a reaching hand. Okay, obvious clip is obvious. And secondly, because Peter can now turn his web into a hand, I have to ask the question that is now on all of our minds. Now, my videos have demanded many important answers to various questions in the past. Do French babes shave their pits? When will Dobby get his own solo movie? And why can't we have some meat? But now I have another important question to add to that list. If Spider-Man can make a hand with his web, can he make it flip the bird? Do not deny your curiosity, people. I will not rest until I learn the truth. Mark Webb, I demand an answer. So yeah, Gwen dies, which may have been effective had the bloody trailer not ruined it.
God, that was so lame.
Dear promo team for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So Andrew Garfield has his go at trying for an Oscar, Gwen has her funeral, and Peter just mopes around for 6 months, all while criminals run amok. But then Peter quickly realises there's a sequel coming out, so he's gonna have to get back out on the street. But as idiotic as Peter has been in these movies, nothing can really prepare you for these two. Oh wow, you dumb woman. There's a massive police shootout on the streets against an advanced walking metal contraption with automatic weapons and rocket launchers, and you bring your kid to watch? Ciao! No! Wait a minute. There's a scene with the kid earlier in the movie. Go back to it.
I'll walk you home. What's your name?
Jorge.
Jorge?
She doesn't even know the name of her kid. His name's Jorge, not Joe. Sorry, my hand isn't nearly big enough to invoke a facepalm to bloody show how stupid this is. I need a, there we go. Okay, right in the forehead. So believe it or not, the kid actually puts on his Walmart bought Spidey suit and stands his ground against the rhino.
Kids are dumb.
But before Spidey Jr. gets popped full of lead, Spidey Sr. shows up and decides to have a conversation with a kid in front of a madman armed with high-tech weaponry.
I knew you'd come back.
Yeah, thanks for stepping up for me. You're the brave.
Don't stop, 'cause they don't stop, and everybody here trying to get on top.
Yep, that would have been the realistic ending, but we got a fight between Spidey and Rhino. We gotta see this. Oh, this is gonna be good. They're not. Well, which is not so bad. We'll see the fight continued in Amazing Spider-Man 3, right? Okay. Oh, sorry, I found that screaming obscenities as loud as I could while being underwater helped numb the pain. Is that why I feel numb? It could be that this was full about a minute ago. Nah, can't be. Didn't have that many. Well, now that we've gotten through the film, I'll now say this. This movie is fucking okay. Let me start with what I do like. Andrew Garfield continues to kick ass as Spider-Man. He's excellent no matter what he's doing in these films, whether it be showing off his acting chops or his comedic ones. And the fact that there will be no Amazing Spider-Man 3 immediately makes me sad. Mostly because we wouldn't have seen Garfield don the suit ever again. That's honestly quite depressing. Though I'm actually sorta happy there'll be no sequel to this film because, well, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy wouldn't have been in it. And I do love her in this role. It's her character alone that makes the Amazing Spider-Man duology contend with the Raimi trilogy. And because she wouldn't have been in the third film, I think it honestly would have suffered. Peter will have found another love interest, whether it be Felicia or MJ, and I'd have probably gotten bored. Because love stories in superhero films always bore me now. We've seen everything filmmakers can do with them, and it's always the same story of, oh, I can't see you, otherwise my enemies can get to you. But I don't care, I'm gonna get kidnapped anyway. Good point, can we make out now? Sure. That, or it's the whole keeping secrets from the love interest bullshit. Think of all the crap with Felicity and Arrow. Yep, that was vomit. That being said, the Amazing Spider-Man films, in my opinion, have the best love story ever seen in a superhero film or show. Or at least in recent memory. And that's really down to the great chemistry Garfield and Stone share on screen. I mean, take other love stories in recent superhero films. Black Widow and Bruce Banner? Pointless. Star-Lord and Gamora? Meh. Clark Kent and Lois Lane? Shoved in for the sake of it. Tony Stark and Pepper Potts? Even that I don't buy. I mean, Tony's an arsehole, why would anyone date him? The point is that Peter and Gwen are the only couple in a superhero film whose love for one another I really buy, which makes it all the more sad when Gwen dies. Though I actually feel her death wasn't needed. Peter already had lost someone at the end of the last movie. We didn't need a repeat here. Especially seeing as how the ending to Amazing Spider-Man 2 goes pretty much the same as 1. Peter defeats the villain but loses someone in the fight, so he sulks around a bit until he finds a recording of something a dead person said earlier in the movie, which convinces him to go back out and fight crime as Spider-Man again. It's these endings to Spider-Man films that are getting so old now. Out of 5 Spidey films, 4 of them end with a funeral scene. And funnily enough, the only one that doesn't is considered the best out of the bunch. Now, I do appreciate the dramatic weight these films have. I just hope that future Spidey films have more of a Deadpool feel to them, as opposed to a Dark Knight one. But that's just my biased opinion, you guys might feel completely differently. But let's move on and talk a bit about the villains, and let's just forget Rhino, as he's not really a villain, he's just someone to get the ball rolling. You know, like how you got that one forgettable bad guy at the beginning of every Bond film. He's just someone to start the film with. Now, enter Electro, who, I'll admit, I was excited to see on the big screen. And whilst his geeky persona is a bit OTT for my tastes, I will admit that Jamie Foxx does do a pretty damn good job. His transformation from suave, cool pop star to, well, this, it's pretty incredible. Though I do wish Max wasn't quite so weird. Like, yeah, make him a little weird so you can understand why he gets shit on so much. But if the filmmakers had made him a little bit more relatable, I'd have had a better rapport with his character, and therefore I'd understand why, as Electro, he would start wrecking shit up. But what would really help his character would be to give him a better reason for hating Spider-Man. Like, in the movie, he hates Spidey because, he forgot him and, he thought he set him up, when clearly he didn't. It's so weak. Like, here's an idea. Maybe the movie opens up with some shit going down at Oscorp. Spidey arrives to save everyone, but doesn't quite manage to save Max and, let's say, Max's brother. And Max and his brother get electrocuted somehow, his brother dies, but Max survives, then he becomes Electro and then blames Spider-Man for his brother's death. And hooray, identifiable villain motivation. What makes a good villain has a lot to do with that. If a villain isn't insane in some way like the Joker, he or she has to have a reason for doing the evil shit they do. And I just don't buy how a character can go from adoring someone like they're his personal Jesus to hating him so much that they want to kill him. The other villain in this movie though, one Harry Osborn, I find a bit more interesting. Mostly because he's not really a villain, he's just a kid who wants to live through his disease, simple as that. And Harry, unlike Max, has ample reason for hating Spider-Man as he wouldn't give him the blood to save his life. Though the end of the film arrives and this character loses all credibility. On top of Dane DeHaan's prosthetic work looking awful and a sudden reasoning for kidnapping Gwen making no sense, I'll explain that in a minute, it's just a simple matter of screen time, or the lack thereof. The Green Goblin in Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets less screen time here than Venom did in Spider-Man 3, and the way he just shows up at the end feels like a bonus round. We had to fight with Electro, that would have been a great way to end. But no, Goblin shows up to make the film longer. And yeah, the film is about 20 minutes too long, I think. Wouldn't it have been a better idea to use the scene of Harry transforming as a nice little cliffhanger to the next film? Harry survives anyway, so we know we'll have seen more of him in the sequel. So what was the point of throwing him in here at the end? In terms of good narrative structure, it makes no sense. Now, if Gwen had to die, what I would have done is this. I'd have had her killed by Electro. Again, going back to the brother idea, Max had someone close to him die, so he'd have wanted Spider-Man to feel the same pain. This was actually Harry's reasoning for wanting to kill Gwen, but Peter wasn't responsible for the death of anyone close to Harry, so it made zero sense. Now, I know my ideas don't follow the comics, but people, films are not carbon copies of their source material. They're adaptations of them. And by changing things around, we'd have gotten an ending not quite as predictable. Yeah, the ending is painfully predictable, not thanks to the god-awful trailers that pretty much spoil everything the movie is going for it, including the very end of the film. And I do mean the very end, because the final shot of the trailer is also the final shot of the movie. Whose idea was that? But I think what this film mostly gets wrong is, well, something really simple. There's just too much going on in it. To illustrate my point, let's go through the movie and review the scenes and count all the various plots and subplots here, okay? Starting with 1. There's Max's story about becoming a social outcast and becoming Electro. 2. There's Harry's story about trying to find a cure for his disease and eventually becoming the Green Goblin. 3. There's the subplot about Peter finding the truth about what happened to his parents. 4. There's the bit exploring Peter and Harry's relationship. 5. There's the dilemma going on between Peter and Gwen and Peter struggling with his promise he made to Captain Stacy. 6. There's a small subplot about Aunt May going back to work at the hospital. 7. There's the bit about Oscorp trying to cover up Max's accident and pinning the blame on Harry. 8. There's the subplot about Gwen going to Oxford. 9. There's the bit about setting up for the Sinister Six. You see how much crap is going on here? It's like someone was writing a season-long TV show and then someone came along and was like, condense it down to one movie. And despite the multitude of plot and characters, there was actually supposed to be even more story. MJ was supposed to be in the film at one point with actress Shailene Woodley cast. Max had his mother show up in one scene. There's a bit where Harry reveals to Peter that Oscorp had been spying on him since he was a kid. And here's a huge shocker for a scene they left out. Turns out Peter's dad, Richard Parker, is alive. Yeah, in a deleted scene, he shows up at Gwen's grave, and it's actually a really good scene. Andrew Garfield once again knocking out of the park with his performance. This really should have been kept in, and something else needed to be cut here. And to make the film more streamlined, one of the villains I think should have just been completely removed from the film. And that should have been Harry. We had already seen the Goblin in a Spidey film. Actually 2 iterations of him already. And seeing as how he's shoved in at the end of the film really makes me think his whole subplot of him finding a cure for his disease and all that should have been left on the cutting room floor. Now, I do like Dane DeHaan in this movie. I think he does a great job, but he really should have been saved for Amazing Spider-Man 3 in my opinion. I mean, I know it's not happening anymore, but that would have been the better plan. Now, I could go on and on here. There's actually a lot to talk about with this film, but just let me conclude that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a mishmash of bad ideas, but they're executed rather well. And whilst the story is too convoluted and the characters too plentiful, it makes up for it with solid action, fun comedy, great acting, and likeable leads. And whilst I do like this movie, I do find it to be the worst Spider-Man film of the 5 we have. Yeah, I honestly think it's worse than Spider-Man 3. But with Spidey back in the hands of Marvel, it definitely has reignited my hopes for the character. These 2 films were great to see, and despite how Sony really only made them to retain the rights to Spider-Man for longer, they did at least put effort into the productions. You know, unlike Fox. At least they're doing X-Men justice. Oh, and speaking of horrific cinematic tragedies, I'm afraid to say the next movie I'll be reviewing is a disturbing tale of a teenager who abuses his power, kills women and children, and yet retains the support of his maniac wife. Oh, and he really doesn't like sand. See you guys next time. Bring booze. Say,